Hi everybody, this is TheHande and bring you yet another shitty couch vlog. Well, you may remember a little while ago I did a shitty couch vlog talking about Resident Evil, the final chapter, and of course I was not able to go see that movie in movie theaters because it wasn't released over here theatrically, so I had to wait, of course, for the home video release. And now I thought I'd talk about a little bit about it. Now you can go back and watch that video if you like, I'll link to it. But I'll quickly recap that I really like the first 3 installments of the Resident Evil film series, and they are hands down the best thing about the film series as a whole. And you may remember that I wasn't that big of a fan of the last couple of movies, Afterlife and Retribution, although I do feel that as films they kinda complement each other in various aspects. So, what did I think of Resident Evil, the final chapter? Well, let's put it this way. This film should have been called Resident Evil, the Final Retcon, because it drove me absolutely crazy, and the main reason it drove me crazy was because of the writing. Now, I had a chance to watch it through a couple of times, and as a simple action movie, I suppose it is kind of entertaining, although personally I think the previous 5 movies were way more memorable in their action scenes and whatnot. But let's forget about all of that for a minute, because this is what I wanted to vent and rant about, and mind you, this has not changed my opinion of the previous films in any way, shape, or form, but I believe Paul W. Anderson committed a really big writing faux pas with this last one. Also, it's helpful to remember a couple of things. Firstly, I do think that Anderson realized that he had maybe waited a little too long to conclude the movie, which is one of the reasons that has led to a lot of these writing decisions that really bugged the fuck out of me. The first one, and I don't think I can even start without even addressing this, was the fact that so many of the characters from the last 2 movies were not present at all. Ada Wong, Leon, Jill Valentine, who was finally freed from Umbrella's mind control in the last movie, and even fucking Becky, the deaf daughter of one of Alice's clones. Now yes, the opening kind of implies that they all died in the big battle that we were kind of drumming up at the end of the previous film, but still, that's kinda shitty. I mean, these characters did play a sizable role in the previous film. You'd expect that they would at least get an appearance at the start of the film. And never mind poor old Chris Redfield, who just kinda disappears into the ether completely in this one. And what's depressing is that that's not even the worst thing about the film. And once I get into the actual thing that really drove me up the wall about the story of the film, you'll actually understand why none of these characters are here. Now, there's one part of this movie that I actually did like. It was mostly the opening. I liked the opening explanation, how the Red Queen was modeled after Alicia Marcus, the daughter of Dr. Marcus, one of Umbrella's founders. And as the movie goes on, and by the way, huge spoiler alert at this point, I mean, I'm gonna be basically spoiling everything from the movie because that's the only way I can discuss it. We eventually learn that Alice is a clone of Alicia Marcus, and furthermore, they meet in the film. Now this is all pretty cool, especially when we get to see Alice, Alicia, and the Red Queen all together in the same room. Even though the Red Queen coming back still doesn't make any sense because, you know, Kaplan fried his circuits, and you know, Kaplan did say that the Red Queen was actually modeled after the daughter of the head programmer, which isn't true because we find out that was actually Dr. Isaacs. But you know what, Kaplan was just a grunt for Umbrella, so we'll let that one slide. It does start a rather unhealthy trend for the rest of the film, which you start to realize that established facts from previous films are suddenly not true anymore, because the movie also begins by telling us that Dr. Marcus was the one who developed the T-virus, and not Dr. Ashford from Resident Evil Apocalypse. And yes, when I said Dr. Isaacs, people who have seen the trailers already know that Dr. Isaacs is in this film, even though he died at the end of the 3rd one, which of course made me think, okay, either that Dr. Isaacs was a clone and the character in this film was going to be the real one, or that was the real one and the one in this movie is the clone. So what's the right answer? Yes. I mean, yes, there's a clone of Isaacs that tries to kill Alice at the start, but eventually we do meet the real Dr. Isaacs, who's some kind of cyborg, which nevertheless pisses me off just a little bit because I really love the fight at the end of the third movie, and now this does cheapen it a little bit to know that it was just a clone and not the real Dr. Isaacs. So I've already given you a little tease about this, that for some reason Anderson decided that a lot of these things needed to be rewritten and reorganized in order for this movie's eventual closure to make any kind of sense, which involves Alice going back to the Hive to find the airborne version of the antivirus so that the T-virus can finally be obliterated from the Earth. Now that in itself, not a bad idea, but the thing that absolutely drove me crazy and made me really detest the story was the revelation halfway through the movie that Umbrella apparently caused a T-virus outbreak intentionally. Which is literally a retcon. I wasn't joking when I said that, like, haha, they kind of changed the story a little bit. No! They completely rewrote the history with that particular decision. Because the original T-virus outbreak in the first movie was caused by Spence, who was trying to cover his tracks when he was trying to steal the T-virus so he could be rich. It was Umbrella who then did release it to Raccoon City by accident, because they didn't know what the fuck was going on down in the Hive. But apparently, according to this movie, Dr. Isaacs was basically trying to cleanse the Earth so that Umbrella's executives, who are in cryogenic stasis, could then emerge and reshape the Earth. Yeah, okay, sure. Which I'm sorry, which although a terrifying idea in its own right, doesn't make any sense. Nothing in the previous movies really even makes it look like Umbrella really intentionally caused the T-virus outbreak. Their actions in the second and third movie seem really contradictory. In fact, the only thing that maybe teases at this possible solution is the fifth movie, because the Red Queen was still running simulations. But like I said, the previous movie just becomes completely pointless from the point of view that we're missing a lot of key characters, but also because the Red Queen was trying to kill Alice in the previous movie, but now she switches sides and is actually trying to work with Alice to stop Umbrella. I was willing to give Anderson a lot of rope on this one, because I realized writing a conclusion to a film series this long was going to be a bit of a task. But what Anderson basically just did was put all the plot elements into a blender and then kind of came up with this convoluted plot logic so that he could get to the finale he wanted to create rather than the one that would have made any kind of sense. But what do I think of all this? Well, what's done is done. I mean, the film series has officially concluded, Sony has officially announced a reboot, and the guy who directed the first Saw movie is going to be working on that. And don't get me wrong, this doesn't devalue the previous Resident Evil movies in any way in my eyes. It doesn't even devalue Anderson's work because, frankly, even though the last couple of Resident Evil movies haven't been that good, he's still done good movies in between them. So yeah, in a film series this long, it's only inevitable you're gonna have a couple of disappointments along the way. I'm just stunned that Anderson would do such a shameless retcon right at the very end of the movie series, because it honestly just kind of wrecks the emotional impact that his few good writing decisions in this movie could have had. Like I said, that whole Alicia bit, it could have been really moving and interesting, and fine if you couldn't get the actors to reprise their roles from the previous films. I can understand that as well, but as people should remember from another Shitty Couch vlog from not so long ago, I hate it when characters get written out of the film for no good reason. I still prefer the original trilogy of films, and if you want to get into anything Resident Evil related, it's probably these three. And if you want to venture further, then yes, watch the last three movies together, but they're not nearly as good. So, see you on the next one!